Dead Art Studios. Today I'm working on one of my project paintings that takes a bit longer. I've shown you some videos where I just do something that takes like 10 minutes, and then I also have these longer ones, so that's what we're doing tonight. Just chat for a bit and then I'll probably carry on by myself. So this one has been in a previous video and we're just going to carry on with more of the same. We're going to be putting a bit more detail into the background and getting it finished so that I can put the final finishing touches to the red sort of family characters in the front. It's a kind of funky, weird family painting. So I'm going to start with a bit of green gold, because down at the bottom here I've got lots of dark colours and some very light colours and not a lot in the middle, and they're all sort of very contrasty and bright in their own ways. If black can be bright, it's definitely bold. So I've got some green gold. I've just got it on a yogurt pot lid. I'm just gonna slice my blade through it a bit using this Stanley knife blade to make some vertical impressions. And then I'm just going to put them on like big long blades of grass. That's it. Now I've got to decide when this background's finished, because I've been doing it for ages now, and I think it is getting there. I suppose it's this bit in the middle of the background here, the lower bit, that's I feel like is the most unfinished, so maybe we'll try and tackle that in a moment to see if we can get a bit further on with it. I'm just imprinting away, and this is a very sort of textured painting. I started it with modelling medium and scraping my fingers through it to create a sort of undulating surface, and it does mean that when you're pressing down with this blade, it's not always a perfect line that you're producing, but that's okay. Crisscross a little bit. That's kind of how nature works. I don't think this is the most natural looking piece of art ever made. A lot of my artwork does have a sort of very bold and perhaps you could say maybe synthetic sort of look to it, and that's just the way it comes out, really. I suppose I could challenge myself one day to try and do something a bit more naturalistic colours and things like that. It might be quite interesting. I do actually think a lot about trying to do that with sort of flesh tones, because that always seems like really difficult to me, like getting flesh tones, all that paint mixing and considering the light and the real softness of blending as well. So maybe something to try next. I need to finish this though first. I've been doing it for like months. Okay, so I've got a bit left of the green gold. Look how it sort of, when you pull it thin, it's got this really nice yellowy sort of colour to it, but then just when it's out of the tube, it's just sort of like a almost dull olive green. I'm going to try and pull some of that up at the top here, and then scratch it a bit. Yeah, that looks kind of interesting-ish. So we'll do about half an hour of this with the video today, and then what'll happen is I would have generated massive files on my phone that's filming down here. Just check I am filming. Do you know what I've not done though? I've not done a clap, but if I do one now, then I can line it all up, still be fine. Just make it easier to line up. Start that one a bit before that one. You've got to get it lined up. I've been enjoying doing video editing actually. I really like it. It's frustrating to start with, but that was mainly getting the software to work properly. Just scratching away, creating some details. Now this bit up here, I don't know what to say. There's a bit above the arm of this character that definitely needs a bit more work, and I'm wondering whether to get the brush for that and do some brush strokes, make it more, less knife blade, more brush stroke. Yeah, so that might be something I do there. Might try that later off camera. If it goes wrong, I can get upset. Trying to keep the emotions even keel on these videos. Don't need it getting too emotional, do we? Right, so I've done that. Use one lid, move straight on to the next. Give them a wash at the end, or recycle them after you've washed them, you know. And I'm eating plenty of yogurt. So next, yes, this bit in here, some more finger painting. So maybe green gold again, so I can use my same lid. So there's my green gold. Hold it this way, look. There you go. Spread it out kind of a bit thin, because I'm going to use my little finger now and dip it, so I don't want a big splodgy bit. I want a sort of line. And then sort of dab off as well to just thin it out a bit, so that I don't just put a gigantic piece of paint on there. You can hear the rain coming outside now. It's just perpetually rained all winter pretty much. I'm definitely looking forward to spring. Rains a lot then though as well, and in summer and autumn. Alright, just going around sort of putting it where I think it needs to go. So I've got a little bit of growth on the channel, tiny bit, so welcome. If you're new, which most of you are, because it's the beginning of the channel. I've been doing it for about a year, but then I started doing shorts mainly because I decided that actually I needed to know what I was doing with my painting before talking and painting, which has its challenges really. So we're 1 year in and I feel a lot more chilled out. I've done lots of painting in the last year, nearly every day. And I used to paint before, but not like that, not seriously. We'll call it seriously. If you're doing it every day, it's still maybe not considered seriously to some, but feels serious in a sort of good way. Okay, spreading that all around. Now, I've said this before, close to the characters, it's tempting not to go there and get paint on them. And then what happens is the surrounding areas of the background have less detail on them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in close. If I get paint on them, it doesn't matter. I'm going to put some heavy red and black and orange on there. You're not going to see it if it gets a bit on now. And then that should just blend all the foreground and the background a little bit nicer. That's too much. See, right up there. And I can just wipe a little bit there. And I might do some yellow as well and some blue and let all the colours sort of go in together. Okay. Just rub a bit of that green in higher up. I always try and use all my paint. It's like this artist grade paint. It's crazy expensive. It is better. It's just loads more intense. You can see the intensity of the colour. I mean, that's what they use, more pigment and less binder. So the difference is real. It's not so real that it's not worth using other paints. I use cheaper paints a lot as well. But then when you get these ones out, you do notice. And acrylic's still cheaper than artist oil. I mean, artist oil is often bonkers money. Alright, so what yellows have we got? Got some Hansa yellow. Let's do that. Actually, I'll see if I've got a bit of cadmium yellow left, because that's a bit more bold. See, I've nearly used it all. There, throwing it. Nearly used it all. Oof. Lid's on tight there. Yeah, that's good, but this is more expensive than the Hansa yellow, the cadmium yellow. I think primary yellow is like the cheapest of the three. I've got some of that as well. Should put some side by side. I'll not do it now. Spread it out, nice thin bit. Get dotting on. Try and use the edges, the pad of the fingertip. Create a bit of a sort of like on the outer edge, like little moon, crescents, things like that. That was a bit heavy. The opacity on this is better than the Hansa yellow as well, you can tell straight away. And the reason I do have oils, and I have last year painted in oils, but the reason I've sort of moved over to acrylics is just drying time. It's a lot quicker. And I'm not young, need to be getting on. I think Francis Bacon, the Irish-English artist, I think he did like 800 paintings in his career. That's a lot of painting. So, you know, if I'm waiting for oil to dry, I'm not going to get 800 done. Like, I don't know if that includes like all his little tiny studies and things. because there's certainly, I think if you go on like the Art Wiki and look through his paintings, there's not 800 on there. I mean, Picasso's got like 1,000 on there. That's cool. You should check that out sometime. The Art Wiki. You can look at each artist's sort of painting catalogue, and you can do it chronologically and see how they change. Pretty interesting. I think out of that, when I looked, the most impressed overall I was Gustav Klimt. And like, obviously he's got the famous Kiss and other paintings around the same sort of time that he did. But then he's got this whole other load of different styles, and he started off like more like doing Renaissance style portraits and things. And it's just amazing on every single one, the level of skill in all areas. It's just unbelievable. And maybe it's because he wasn't in Paris, you know, he was out in a little bit out in Austria, out of the way a bit. Maybe that, because he was around at similar time to Picasso and everything. Maybe because he wasn't in the gang with Monet and such, and it wasn't Paris, maybe. I mean, he's still really well known, isn't he? But I don't feel like he's getting the kudos that Monet and Picasso are getting. Definitely worth going to see his paintings in Vienna if you ever get the opportunity. I think seeing the Kiss up on the wall, that was like, I've seen quite a lot of well-known paintings, and that was the one that I was like, whoa, this is better in real life. Like, it was like, it's like I've seen lots of famous paintings, and that was the one that made me like really think, whoa. So for that reason, definitely worth checking out. Is it there? I think it's the Belvedere Palace. I think that's where they are. They've got another good gallery and well, they've got loads of stuff. It's Vienna. Put some on there. Cyan, blue cyan. Well, primary cyan, blue cyan. Spread it out nice and thin. Get some of that in there as well. I'm starting to question, I've got quite a narrow colour theme on this, and I'm starting to question whether to bring in some just little bits of like magentas or pinks, or whether that's going to overcomplicate it. It'd only be a small amount, like maybe along the top of this line here, maybe along this line here. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think. Down here, up here, a little bit of different colour, or shall I keep it the same? The blues, the yellows, the greens, and then the orange and red and black, mainly for the characters. A little bit of the orange into there, but I might bring a bit more yellow into that. Maybe even a tiny couple of lines of red as well, just to try and homogenise it with that strong foreground. Just fingerprinting away. Oh, that one's a bit strong. Press it again with the other finger, dampen it down a bit. You could do this forever though, couldn't you? This is the problem I've got with this painting. You could just keep doing this forever and thinking it might be better next time. It might just look a bit better, so I'll carry on. I've had this problem with throughout my life with anything that I've sort of tried, to the point where you go past what's right, really. Maybe not academically. Maybe academically I never did that. Thinking about it, essay writing and stuff, you know, probably could have done a bit more on that. But crafty things, you know, woodwork and painting and even like DIY and stuff, getting a bit carried away, doing more than what's required. Alright, that's basically dry now. Right, does that look better? I do not know. Do not know. I'll have to have a think about that. I think this line here needs to be more defined. And then I'm wondering whether to bring something in with a brush here and go around the edges of some of these little finger dots and sort of individualise them a bit more with sort of highlights or separate colours. I do not know. I'm quite happy with the top. Maybe a little change here and here, but quite happy with that. This line here, need to do something. We've got to get to the end of this. I want to do something else. I want to finish this, but like there's other paintings and started and empty boards, ideas to be done. Right, I've got about 8 minutes left before I'm going to say bye to you. So what are we going to do with those 8 minutes? I think I might use a bit of ultramarine. To finish up. Do a bit on the top, where last time I did a bit of green gold on these lines here, and there's some are just a bit too heavy. Do a bit of ultramarine on that. And then see what time it is. That's quite a lot of ultramarine for what I wanted, but you know, I can put some of that elsewhere. Try and strengthen some of these lines. I think I'll go for my smaller blade. Try and get, you know, some paint on it. Not loads, but some. And then holding it kind of sideways to get it down, print it on. That went down quite nice actually. Might try and create a bit more like branch-esque structure as well. I'll turn it over and see if I can get that down to the bottom. That's all right. That's doing all right. Into this bit of green here. I always drift off from my plan. That were too much. That's gone on big, heavy. We don't want that. So let's scrape this a bit. Let's see if we can just scrape it off. Where's my other blade? Get my other blade, look. And then what we'll do is we'll just scratch it. Put some scratches in. There we go, bit of fine detail. Right. Carry on as before. Bit up here. Put my blade back there and then I can hold this. There we go. Seems easier for some reason. across a bit this way as well. See, that is now quite heavy there, but we'll sort it out. That's a bit heavy as well. Let's pull that up like that. See, that's not a bad effect in itself. Just put a line there on it and a line there on it, and see, that looks quite nice in itself, coming out there. I'll scratch that a bit more though. Over here. Scratch that as well. There's some sideways scratches. I'm a mumbler. I'm trying to talk clearly for this microphone down here. You learn quite a lot about yourself making videos of yourself, talking to yourself. And in 4K, you're seeing all the imperfections as well, like your skin and your jaw and teeth and just everything. And you're just like... Does that look better? I really don't know. Right, I'll scratch that a bit as well. At least I'll be able to look at the video and see whether it's like better or worse. So that in itself is quite useful. I already said I'm happier with this bit than this bit, but I'm painting this bit and leaving this bit. So this is how my mind works. Just it's doing what it's not listening to itself. The various cortexes and regions are misaligned and disconnected, and they're all fighting for their own autonomy. I don't know. I think overall it is probably an improvement. I do think they're a bit heavy though. Scratch them out a bit. And up here. Bring a bit in there. Is that helping? Might be. That was a bit low. Let's clean this a little bit. Do some scratching and see what it looks like on this area here. Anyway, I think for the video at least, that's enough for tonight. I am going to carry on, try and make some progress. Because otherwise we'll still be doing it next Christmas, won't we? So, Dead Art Studios. See you soon.